The Japanese Grand Prix is just around the corner, and it's expected to be an exhilarating race. The combination of the Japanese spring weather and a high chance of rain on race day could lead to absolute chaos, making the race more about the skill of the driver than the speed of the Red Bull car. This race also marks the first time this season we'll see some significant upgrades, and Red Bull has something planned that might surprise many fans. Ferrari's win in Australia last time out is seen by some as Max Verstappen's loss, rather than Carlos Sainz's win. If Verstappen hadn't retired due to a stuck-on brake, Ferrari would have had a tougher time at Albert Park. There's debate about whether Red Bull's tyre wear would have allowed the Ferrari drivers to challenge Verstappen anyway, but that's just speculation. What's not speculation is the expected response from Red Bull in Japan. Verstappen is not one to take failure lightly, and after his win streak was broken by a mechanic's mistake, he'll be eager to prove this season is still his to dominate. The expected rain on race day might make things more challenging, but he'll still fancy his chances. Ferrari is likely the favourite to challenge Verstappen, but McLaren is also looking strong. Lando Norris was close to Sainz in Melbourne and feels like he should have finished second. So there are multiple threats emerging if Red Bull doesn't get everything right. Lando is particularly good in rainy conditions, a skill he might need on Sunday if Red Bull faces pressure. Seeing Red Bull under pressure would be exciting for the championship, and Damon Hill thinks it'll definitely happen. He thinks it'll be a big test for the competition against Red Bull at Suzuka, especially in terms of aerodynamics and car efficiency. Ferrari is fast on straight lines, and let me tell you, there are lots of those at Suzuka. What I'm really hoping for is that Ferrari can challenge Red Bull during the race itself. The issue for Red Bull's competitors is that the team based in Milton Keynes has been waiting for cooler weather tracks to showcase the true potential of their new streamlined aerodynamic modifications. Now, Suzuka suits Red Bull's strengths well, particularly in high-speed corners, which are abundant there. In the first sector of the track, Ferrari, their intermediate rivals, could also face pressure from McLaren, whose strengths lie in high-speed performance. Our car worked really well in Australia right from the start. It felt like a winning car, explained Carlos Sainz. However, he thinks maintaining this level of performance on every track until they introduce updates to close the gap, as seen in Bahrain and Jeddah, will be challenging. But compared to Red Bull, Ferrari isn't expected to bring significant upgrades until round 7 of the season at Imola in mid-May. Red Bull is gearing up with a new floor for the RB20 at Suzuka, which should improve their car's balance and address some tyre issues they faced in Australia. With Pirelli bringing the softest tyre range and the track likely to be green after the rainy Japanese winter, tyre wear will be a big concern for many teams. Red Bull isn't stopping at just a floor upgrade. They've been working on introducing a new slim downside pod design since the beginning of the season. This design caused a stir initially, drawing comparisons to the Mercedes Zero pod design. However, upon closer inspection, it's proven to be more refined. The advancements in engine cooling technology have enabled chief designer Adrian Newey to wrap the car's outer shell tighter than before. Now, when the design was first revealed, it was speculated that further slimming down of the bodywork could be possible once Formula One moved away from the scorching temperature of the Middle East and Australian summer. This means Japan could witness a significant upgrade to the RB20's aerodynamics, with Red Bull focusing on enhancing cooling and the surrounding bodywork. Red Bull is planning to use a strategy they used back in 2023 to work around the restrictions on aerodynamic testing. These restrictions limit how much testing they can do in wind tunnels and through computer simulations. Last year, these limits affected Red Bull more because they were leading in the Constructors' Championship. On top of that, they had to deal with an additional 10% reduction in their testing allowance as a penalty for spending too much compared to the cost cap set in 2021. However, there are some exceptions to these testing restrictions. Red Bull can still conduct wind tunnel tests, but only for developing parts related to cooling the engine or for running the engine itself from specific starting points. Similarly to what they did last year, Red Bull is focusing their efforts on improving cooling systems and rearranging internal components. This approach allows them to allocate less of their testing allowance towards refining the external bodywork of the car. Red Bull is keeping quiet about the specifics of their new upgrades. When Max Verstappen was asked for details, he jokingly replied, "Well, I mean, the colour will be the same." He hinted that other teams would also be bringing upgrades this season. The grid this season seems to be divided into 4 groups. At the top tier, there's Red Bull, followed closely by Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes and Aston Martin. Below them are Williams, Red Bull's sister team, and Haas. At the absolute bottom are Sauber, who have had issues with pit stops, and Alpine, who have been struggling with car performance. It's believed that Alpine's car is overweight and lacks power compared to its rivals, a point of contention with the FIA and other teams. As a result, Alpine is yet to score any points this season. Pierre Gasly, however, is optimistic that the upgrades the team is bringing to Japan will improve their pace and move them up in the rankings. Pierre Gasly mentioned that the upgrades for Alpine will be a significant improvement from their current situation. Right now, they need every possible update to boost performance. Gasly sees this as a positive step forward, though he expects more upgrades later on. He believes the priority is understanding the bigger picture, whether to stick with their current concept or change direction. Reducing the weight of the Alpine car would be a major improvement because carrying extra weight slows down lap times, which is a big no-no in Formula 1. Alpine is hoping these upgrades will bring them closer to contention for scoring points. However, one of their main competitors for those points, the Racing Bulls, also has new parts for the Japanese Grand Prix. The Racing Bulls secured their first points of the 2024 season at the Australian GP, thanks to Yuki Tsunoda's 7th place finish. These points are crucial for the team after facing challenges at the beginning of the season. But to tell you the truth, this difficult start to the season wasn't a surprise for the Italian team, as the technologies over at their aerodynamics headquarters had already expected to be 6th or 7th fastest, because they ran into several small issues with the new car during shakedown and pre-season testing. Now, to address these issues, the team aims to reduce overall drag and weight on their car, the VCARB 01. In Australia, they introduced a new medium-laden rear wing with a different compromise between the main profile and the movable flap, enhancing efficiency on straights. This new wing is also lighter, helping them shed any excess weight. As for Honda and Yuki Tsunoda, their home race will feature a new floor upgrade for the RB. The new upgrades will be the first step to making the car less reliant on the old one. Some worried before the season that Red Bull and RB's close connection would give them an unfair edge over the other teams, but we haven't seen that advantage yet, if it exists at all. If these upgrades give them a big boost, people might question whether it's fair for one company to own two teams. Now, Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo will want to get used to the new parts as quickly as they can. Tsunoda especially hopes to adjust the car to fit his driving style better and gain some confidence back. Talk about Liam Lawson possibly taking Ricciardo's seat might quiet down a bit, but we'll see a new face at the Japanese Grand Prix. Ayumu Iwasa, a Super Formula driver, will have his first Formula 1 weekend in Ricciardo's car for free practice 1. It's a bit surprising, but Red Bull probably wanted to do it because it's Honda and Iwasa's home race. However, for Ricciardo, without that extra practice time at a tough track like Suzuka, and with a new floor, he might face some big challenges. And now, with more pressure on his spot in the lineup, it could get tough. Are you excited to see what Red Bull brings to the Japanese Grand Prix? Do you think Ferrari will give them a fight like in Australia, or was that a one-time thing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.